Hi guys, thought I'd start a video quickly of a state collection, just purely for the fact that my collection is going to be changing tomorrow. Going to be selling off a few pieces, so I thought I'd just make this video to remind me of the watches I've got and yeah, where the collection was and will go. So I'm going to start off with this. This is the Seiko Saab 035, a watch that we're very familiar with. I purchased this in June of 2020 and it was probably my third ever watch. I only started collecting in the very beginning of 2020, and I remember I paid about £380 for it on Amazon, and I thought at the time, you know, bloody hell, it's a hell of a lot of money. I was really nervous about paying for it. I probably would have sold it on by now, but in all honesty, the reason why I've kept it is because on the case back, the reference number, as you can know, you can date all Seikos by the reference numbers on the back. So if we try and look, I'm trying to look on the camera. So it says, I'm not sure if you can clear it. Yeah, there we go, 96. So it's June 2019, and you can check that it is also that because it's the 6R15D. So it's going to be the later version of the movement, the very last. So this is a very relatively new Saab 035, probably one of the last ones off the production line. But just as a coincidence, it coincided with my son's birthday. So he is June 2019, so I'm keeping this for him. Not many people can say they've got a birth year watch, let alone a birth year and month watch. So I only really wear this occasionally, and I wear it every 15th of June on his birthday as a little sort of memento to him. So yeah, this is going nowhere, and is his watch. Back onto the theme of family and children and everything. This my other half got me. It's the number cruncher from Mr. Jones. Fun little jump hour watch, but yeah, you can get these personally engraved, and the reason why it's the monster is I used to pretend to be a monster at bedtimes with my son, and yeah, got it engraved with Daddy Monster. Scary is what he used to say. So yeah, and he used to call me Daddy Monster. So yeah, another fun little piece. Don't wear it often, but yeah, watch you should put a smile on your face. Then we've got probably my favourite watch in the collection, the Seiko Willard SBB 151. Seiko, especially around this time, got a lot of flack. People were saying, you know, they're going up in price, and you know, is it really worth it? Personally, I've bought a lot of the cheaper models, like the you know, I've had Turtles, I've had Arnie's, I've had Flight Masters, I've had, you know, quite a lot of the, you know, entry-level watches, and there definitely is a step up. You know, the diashield coating, I wear this more than any other watch, and it's in very good condition still. Diashield coating works. The anti-reflective coating, great. The bevel on the crystals, fantastic. You know, this is a step up from the other Seiko models, the more affordable end anyway. This is another sentimental watch. This is the Oris Big Crown Pointer Day. It's the 80th anniversary edition. It's not so special anymore in being the 80th anniversary because the bronze is not so unique, because they released loads of others in bronze with bracelets as well. But yeah, this was bought as an engagement present by my other half very kindly. So yeah, this one's going nowhere either. And then we've got another watch I wear a lot, the Doxa Sub 300. Again, Doxa get a lot of flack, you know, where are they made? but to be honest, I don't really care. Like, it's the you know, I'd always go for this over the 300T. I much prefer the thinner case. If you look at it online, on paper the dimensions are very similar in terms of height, but you know, a lot of that is the box crystal, and that slim case just is perfect. It really does wear lovely. And also, not only that, the bezel ratchet is much better than the 300T. It's much chunkier. It's, you know, really nice and grippy. And didn't line it there. And also, another thing that I think is better is, well, firstly, the links here make much better to the case. How they taper down, there's a big gap right here on the 300T, and also the clasp. I think the clasp in this is way better than the 300T. No, it doesn't have on-the-fly adjustment. Who cares? You've got plenty of adjustment holes there. People wore watches on bracelets for years and never complained. But I would take a small, thin clasp over a really long, thick clasp, and also the extension itself is ugly. Like, you know, you move any little point out and you've got a thin piece of metal on show. I don't really see the hype in micro adjustment on the fly unless it's hidden and doesn't bulk out clasps. You know, Tudor's Glide Lock, you know, the RWCs and the Geo's micro adjusts, Tudors, they're all good, but the rest I'm not really a fan of. This watch came at a bit of a funny time. I actually forgot I bought it because it took so long to arrive from China, and it actually arrived when I was watching a video on the coverage of Watches and Wonders, and it was a good little slap in the face and wake up call of, you know, stay in your lane, stop looking at all these, you know, 5-figure watches, and yeah, have a look at this one. This is more you. Don't wear it that much. I've been thinking about selling it, but in all honesty, you're probably only getting about £50 for it, so I think it's too good to keep, you know, to sell, and it's better than that price. In all honesty, I think it's worth more than 50 quid. And, you know, the movement is, you know, a cheap Chinese movement, but still, it's incredibly impressive. It's better than, you know, any other movement I've got, really. But yeah, great bargain for the price. I'm going to show you two at the same time now. So these are Seiko Bellmatics. 7006 is the reference, can't remember the rest of them. This one's from 69, this one's from 71. This one you can also get as the business bell. Literally just says business bell at the 6 o'clock. This is the first generation, these two, or generation movement of Seiko's alarm watch, their first, and I believe only alarm watch. It was a very high-end movement for the time. It's 27 joules, and very quickly after production, only after a couple of years, they had to reduce the joule count to 21 and then later 17 due to the tariffs that came in over joule counts. And you can tell this one it's got quite a lot of, you know, King Seiko, Grand Seiko kind of look to it. But yet it has an English day wheel, and only came with an English day wheel. So you can see that this was definitely marketed for an international audience. This one has the kanji date wheel, and I think it's got a lovely grey, sometimes almost purple, vertically brushed dial. Lovely, you know, typical Seiko curves and facets and polishing, and, you know, it's absolutely lovely. This is a big purchase for me, the Cartier Santos Gaudet. I loved the think it was 2018 it came out, the Santos de Cartier, the newer version. But in all honesty, I think the 35mm wears too large. I also don't like how the bezel integrates into the band, the bracelet. I much prefer this squared off look. The 430 date is a bit of bone of contention for some people. I don't mind it. It is there when you need it, and it's there when, you know, it disappears when you don't need it. I think it's very elegant, very nice. I'm glad I got the all steel rather than the two-tone. It makes it much more versatile. I can wear this, you know, dress down, dress up. It's not showy, and I think the 32mm size is perfect. Just pop it on for show. I don't actually know my wrist size. I think it's 7.5, nearly 8. But yeah, I think that wears great. So I've got my tripod quite high, low, sorry. But yeah, beautiful. There are some things on it as well that are different to the current model, which I actually prefer. There's this lovely polished bevel along the sides of the links that they haven't included. And also I much prefer the clasp. It is a butterfly. A lot of people don't like them, but it just hugs the wrist. It is so thin. There's no pushes on the side, so yeah, you're not getting that added security, but it is continuous and elegant, whereas the current one has quite, they're not large, but they do protrude, the pushes, and I just think this is a much more refined and more elegant Cartier than the current version. Here we've got a King Seiko. This is our part of the 56 range, so it's got the 28/8 automatic movement. These you can get relatively cheaply because, you know, it's not the first range of the King Seiko, or second or third, but it's you know, it doesn't have the high beat, and this is when King Seiko started to integrate machine automation into their manufacturing. So these aren't, you know, hand built, but they're very beautiful, and I really like this model because it's quite unusual for a King Seiko, their grammar of design. You know, it doesn't have a lot of polishing, a lot of straight edges and facets. You know, this is very curved, and it just makes it more versatile, more wearable. I think it's you know, less showy, and also the polished vintage models have just been polished to death and they've lost all their facets anyway. But yeah, I really like this. This is definitely a keeper. And also, while on that subject, I do think when people talk about Seiko and how good the Sabo 3.5 was and how it was a baby grand Seiko, I just think when you compare the finishing and the dial furniture, it's night and day. I mean, yeah, you're going to say it's a King Seiko, but even this Seiko Balmatic, you know, this is not a King Seiko, and the hands and indices are leagues above in my opinion. So yeah, I don't think the Sabo 3.5 is all it's cracked up to be, and I wouldn't recommend people buying it now. I would say go vintage. This is on the chopping block. This is an Omega 3999. I only recently just purchased this. It's arrived about a week and a half ago. It's very similar to the Cartier Tank Francais in its look, but it's you know, quite a rare Omega tank. It was only in production between 1959 and 1961, I believe. Quite unusual as well that it's you know, really, a relatively small watch, but with a fully automatic movement. Quite a high box crystal, as you can see there. Nice crosshair dial. It is nice, but I do need to clear some space, and It's got quite a large lug width of 21mm, so this was a very big tank watch for the era. It's another rectangular watch. This is a, oh, come on, focus. This is a Whitnauer. I can't remember the reference number. It's in 14 karat gold, rolled gold, 14 karat or 10 karat, I believe. Don't know anything about this watch before I bought it. It was just a Chrono 24 find. You know, just thought the case design and the dial was really attractive. So a bit of an impulse buy, but I went on it. It's got a nice kind of, you know, very, very subtle waffle kind of pattern on the dial, and lovely burgundy, and I think that goes really well with the gold. I really like the case design as well, with these kind of lovely angles. It's much more interesting than the Cartier tank. And what I do like is how thin the sides of the case are, because it just makes manually winding this watch an absolute joy, because you can really get good purchase here. But yeah, it's really nice. Here is another watch that is going to be going, unfortunately, but you can't keep them all. And also, it's really made me reevaluate my style and preferences in watches. So this is a Vacheron Constantin 7391. This is actually a Vacheron and Constantin. This came out in 1971, I believe, and in 1971 they changed their name to just simply Vacheron Constantin, removed the and. Full gold bracelet, case, dial. It's got a lovely clasp, like, you know, jeweler's clasp. Actually has 2 points of adjustment to ensure a comfortable fit. But the bracelet is amazing. It's like Ferrero Rocher paper. But yeah, I mean, it's how it's made. The links, you know, almost invisible. It's ridiculous. Like, in today's market, a watch like this is just completely unaffordable to me. The movement inside is the K1121, I believe, which is the JLC 920 caliber that was in the original Nautilus, the original Royal Oak, the original 222. I believe it is still, it definitely was, and I think it is still to this day, the thinnest full rotor automatic movement ever made. This watch itself is 5.5mm thick. You know, lovely sort of linen dial. I mean, yeah, it's full gold. It is quite loud, but there's no real polishing on it. So it is a little bit more subtle than it could be. Just. But yeah, I mean, I picked this up for about, I think, I can't remember now, but it's, you know, it was less than a brand new Oyster Perpetual, which I just think just shows you the value in vintage watches. And then finally, the Omega Aquaterra World Timer. I don't need a World Timer. I don't travel that much, don't travel for work, just a few holidays a year. So I've never really seen the point of a GMT or a World Timer, especially. You know, I still don't see the point in a GMT. They're, you know, you can add or subtract a few hours if you need to. But, you know, the main reason I bought this watch was for the dial. I went with the rubber strap. I think the bracelet is pretty poor on this watch, whereas the rubber strap is actually very nice. Obviously, most people would always go with a bracelet, and I tend to agree with that. I would always get a bracelet, but if you're never going to wear it, and the other option is actually better suited for the watch, then go with the rubber strap. The reason why I'm selling it is it just doesn't really get much wear. and it's a bit large. The thickness on all their coaxial movements are quite thick. Being 43mm, the actual thickness kind of lessens a bit because it's a larger case size, but it's still a bit too thick for me. But yeah, just don't really get much wear out of it, and it's a lot of money just sitting there not getting worn. So that's kind of where my collection is at the moment, and I think I'm going to definitely shrink down a lot and concentrate on the watches that make me happy, and it's things like this. You know, this to me is my happy place. I don't dress up that often. I wear a suit to work, but I'm only in the office twice a day. So I've got my Santos, I've got my King Seiko, got the Wittenauer, you know, got other things. Most of the time I'm wearing one of these two watches. So I think definitely less formal, definitely more casual. I've got two young kids, hence why I've been whispering this whole video. But yeah, this is where I see my collection going in the future. Downsizing and having a bit of fun with colour and divers. The Satina PH 1000 with that blue dial, I think that's lovely. I think that's something that I'd like to add. Maybe a Seiko tuner, I've always liked those. I've had the solar one, but I would like an automatic or a spring drive. Yeah, I think colour, robust divers is what I like. And as you can see, these are the only two watches that are actually running and at the right time. So yeah, proof that these are the only two that I wear most of the time. Anyway, thank you for watching my channel, well, my video. I'm not even going to call it a channel because this is the first video. Whether I make any more of these, and you know, whether I put some effort into it and improve the quality and my spoken word on the video, let's wait and see. Definitely going to do it more when the kids aren't asleep, so I can actually talk in a normal tone and volume and not be so robotic. Anyway, thank you for watching. Cheers. Bye.